This live is about this book. Raghda Moataz and Philipp
I'm
Paulsen.
Philipp
Yes.
Paulsen.
Philipp is the supervisor of Absolute Egypt project and the
Raghda
author.
is the author and the designer.
And he's the backup and the mentor behind every little move I did throughout this project.
Raghda is the driving force and the enthusiast who brought it so far.
As just an overview, we just spent 3.5 months on our bachelor, and then we finished it, we presented it, and then we spent 2 years after that refining the final book. This was the final exhibition, and it took place in the GUC. I had the pleasure of having a room for my own. So if you can see here, there was like posters, and we can see like typography on the wall. Everything is connected with one line. This was a philosophy in the identity.
How did you come up with this idea?
It was in my 4th year, before the semester before the bachelor, and I did a project about stereotypes. And then I picked the stereotype that Egyptian local designs, the vernaculars, the everyday things are bad designs. So I decided that this visual culture needs further investigation and it needs the format of a book. I want to make a project that investigates how people live through graphic design in Egypt.
As an instructor, you get afraid if you're confronted with such a project. It can be endless, no?
Let's dig into the book. This is the first spread.
And the first chapter.
It has, the first punch when you go into the street. I see a lot of patterns, textures, symbols, colors. Textures, for example, to make sense of what are the most common textures in the street. Exactly like this here, the symbol of pharmacies in Egypt. So you can find people using them in such gray areas that you don't know. Is it an illustration? Is it an icon?
I remember when I came here 2015 or something, they used it for the election posters.
Yeah. Huh? The word Allah or Muhammad. Islam is not a religion that encourages this pictorial depiction. Therefore, they needed just an iconographic like typography, like the Allah on top. So we can see here that we are redefining some things. Nothing is as black and white as we thought it is. This is about the graffiti especially in Tahrir and in downtown. They thrived during the revolution. Seeing the correlation of the Egyptian pharaonic culture everywhere. And we can see here, especially in the metro, how a lot of illustrations are actually pharaonic. And one of my favorites is the one on the left with the naked pharaonic woman. I mean, we are a conservative country, but we are okay with that attire. On the contrary, we can see on the right, the middle photo with the girls marching like this in Kulayt al-Banat station. But they are wearing the attire until here. They are wearing long sleeve shirts. Only their hairs is showing and their neck. And you can understand the perception of people viewing their women and women viewing themselves here and before. And they are okay with both. These things are not mentioned in the book. You need to really think of the organization of the photographs, because we didn't just put them randomly. And this is the strength of a publication, when you do it objectively enough that you don't interfere with the thought process, but engage people enough that they have their own. The next chapter is designed in public places. These were, the essence of the field research. The designs we find in the public places, like the signs. There is an entire section only on typography. We have such rich number of typographic and lettering pieces. It is an application on its own in Egypt, on buildings, on schools, on as an advertising mean. The canvas is the environment. We try to also bring about the iconic designs of the food cart. The food cart in 2 places, in Europe and in Egypt. In Moataz Street, the food court is a bit out of place in Europe, whereas in Egypt it looks just blended. This is the strength of having an identity for your local designs. We have added some random graffiti, the small ones, the stenciled ones, also the iconic blue plates of the streets, the retail signs, which is an enormously important design application in Egypt. You can find such beautiful varieties. And also I found those locally looking logos, how they interpreted Ford's lettered calligraphy word into nastaliq. Also, of course, we need to present it the iconic grocery price tags, because they are one of the funniest applications ever. The random babies on the tags, and it's usually not even your baby. They just love babies. Street structures. You can find the most random structures in the streets. People are just using what is there with something new and building a whole new set of things. This chapter is wrapped up by this section, and then we went to chapter 3, which is printed matter. We find anything that is printed, it's more shy, it's not confrontational in the street. The religious prints section, which included the main religious prints of the main two religions in Egypt, Islam and Christianity. So here we can find the Sunni Muslim Quran. This is the doctrine most famous in Egypt. You can find so much variety of the Quran. It is actually open for redesigning as long as it respects the words inside. And also it has the Bible and Christian books in general. The Bible is actually more modest in its design, less ornamented, and way less varieties than the Quran. Books, the general novels, the mainstream novels that we can see, whether it's a bit childish ones or the contemporary young adult ones. We can see also newspapers, money. We can see the bills we have in Egypt. We can see also the stamps and their background. The whole journey was to get you from the general sense of the patterns and then going into the streets with the designs in public places, the public designs, and then ending with more calm and more organized printed matter. And this is the last spread in our book. Funny story about this is the rooftop of my house. And I went there and I took a lot of shots, and I wanted it to symbolize that after you finish this, you're there. You are on the top. You have this overview on designs, on us, on people living. It felt like a very friendly goodbye for the book.
It's not always directly monetarily rewarding to make such a book, and it's so much work and it takes so much endurance to go through this whole process, but it's very, very rewarding on the long term, and I think it's especially rewarding for the society and for the community, not only of designers, but it could also be very interesting for researchers in anthropology or for social researchers.
We constantly want to remind ourselves in this process, why are we doing this? Making people talk about those designs, them being presented in a professional way in a published book, and we see them as good inspiration and respectable visual styles. It's just about bringing forward the value of the local visual culture of Egypt, the thing that people come from abroad just to be inspired from.
We had a lot of struggles also. I always wanted to organize it more, or to...
If I imagine this book would be completely Egyptian, it wouldn't really be organized.
So our publisher, Edusmitzhäusen.
I mean, Khat Books, in its mission, it's a publisher that helps people just grow their projects with them. That's not the case usually. I have spent with you 2 years with Edusmitzhäusen's guidance of Khat Books, sending lengthy emails and teaching us how to stay out of the philosophical, be as objective as possible, and providing a whole new perspective that is professional in the publishing scene. So, and also Huda Abi Faris at the end. It was a bless having both of them in the process. So the interesting thing in this project is how we are approaching visual culture in Egypt.
Of course, you had to focus on things that you recognized as typical for Egyptian visual culture.
Until the last version I sent, I have changed material because I have found something new and more exciting.
I'm completely proud of this book.
You want to say anything at the end?
Closing statements?
Yes.
Thank you all for listening. I hope you find a bit of inspiration. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you.